Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after all the Atlanta FaZe drama, Crimsix has revealed an interesting detail which may well land on Arcitys' side of the story rather than the boys that dropped him, describing how the extension of the deals right before the World Championship occurred with the Atlanta FaZe, despite the fact that it seems like FaZe knew they wanted to drop Arcitys before this point. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Let's crack straight on with things. Firstly, wanted to mention a couple of things. We looked at this image yesterday, but just to say really on FaZe/, obviously he's having a good time. Thank you for paying for everything FaZe/, but also talking about the potential of gentlemen's agreements going into next season. Because, well, as Attach goes on to say, the GA committee for Modern Warfare 2. Of course, every year there is GAs to some degree. What happens this year, who knows? The big discussion point, I suppose, this year was the Volk right that got introduced around Major 2, that Slasher, of course, won that event. And then that weapon was GA'd by the pros going forward. We saw it back in Black Ops 4 with the Rampart, for example. When the Rampart came in, Classic used it to great effect on Luminosity Gaming back at CWL Fort Worth. Straight after that event, I think they actually nerfed the gun to some degree, but also the pros decided, yes, it's too good, it's going to go. Different games have GAs to different extents. I do wonder whether Auto Tac Sprint, if it's still a thing in this upcoming title, remains GA'd. You'd imagine it probably would, but I know that guys like Doug have said that, like, look, we've got to try and revert some of these GAs to actually protect the hands of the players going forwards. So who knows what the GA committee, if there even is such a thing, is going to come up with this year. But that's the thing, even back in Modern Warfare 2019, there was talks about, you know, certain weapons, the AUG and the Uzi and stuff that were added into the game that the pros decided, or like the Ram 7 or whatever it was called, that the pros said at some point were too good, they've got to go, and we can stick to the M4, MP5 meta. So that's generally how things go. Whatever weapons that people come out with and use at the start of the title, those are probably the weapons that will remain used. And if there's anything else that comes into the meta, a lot of the time the pros will just try and shut it down. But I mean, yeah, the GA committee is always a big talking point. Slasher says that he's not really involved in these decisions anymore, and usually there's like one GA representative, that's gentleman's agreement, from each team that goes into a group, and then someone proposes something. It was like the snipers at the start of this year, actually. I think that was probably the big one that I'm missing here so far, is that the pros were proposing to gentleman's agreement the snipers before the season even began, because they were saying, wow, they're just too strong, so much aim assist. And then the fans on the community were like, this is ridiculous. Like, you know, at least use them at the first event of the season and see how it goes. And then it turns out the snipers just weren't overpowered at all in competitive play and were perfectly viable for the entire season. And honestly, a lot of Search and Destroy teams didn't even have a sniper, designated sniper on their team. So that's sometimes the pros need to be checked a little bit, as I think the community did a good job this past season. We actually got snipers back in business. Let's dive into some of this FaZe stuff then, because it's pretty interesting, to be honest. RC says, we love COD. Of course, it's on Los Angeles Guerrillas going forwards. But exactly what happened in that FaZe camp over the last few months still is kind of difficult to determine. But Crimsix has brought up an interesting detail that I forgot about that actually might, well, shed some light on the situation and what may, well, who necessarily might be in the wrong here. This just to say from IU Turtle real quick, I thought he did some interesting analysis of Stage 1 qualifiers versus Stage 1 major results, analysing maybe some differences here between online and LAN play. It was interesting to me that, like, at most stages, at least the first 3 stages, there was a 5-0 team that never won the event, right? FaZe went 5-0 to second place at the major, OpTic went 5-0 to 6th place at major 2, then stage 3 was Minnesota Rokkr that went to 8th place, and then stage 4 qualifiers, the top teams were Subliners, Ravens and Breach. None of them won the event. So very interesting actually how that worked out last year, that there was never a team that dominated the online qualifiers that won the event. I mean, if you just look at this, right, OpTic, for example, went 3-2, then they won. Guerrillas went 3-2, then they won. Stage 3 qualifiers, Surge went 4-1, then they won, and then it was Thieves at 3-2 again. So kind of crazy how that worked out, right? But I mean, yeah, it is interesting to look at this from Thieves' perspective, because, okay, their online performances, apart from stage 2 where they went 0-5, were still not great. But, like, you know, Thieves were okay. 4-1, 0-5. That was honestly so impressive that they didn't blow it up after this. 0-5 into a top 8 and didn't blow it up. Like, that deserves some credit. I mean, they blew it up and made changes to a certain extent, but yeah, they even went 2-3 after that, but they'd done quite well at the Prem at that point, and then of course 3-2 for the win. So that's the thing, like, their online performances haven't been great from Los Angeles. It doesn't seem to be the ideal internet situation, but their LAN performances all year were pretty good, all things considered. But just like interesting features really here to consider going into the new season. This is then the key talking point. So this came out on the 21st of July when Benjay Nassim was trying to put together which teams are going to stay together, which teams are going to break apart. And he was asking the question to Arcitys in the chat, have the team signed new deals? Because it would have seemed like after Modern Warfare Cold War, that was their 1+1 over. Therefore, they would have probably signed re-signed a new contract, like, you know, going into Vanguard, let's just say, and therefore they would be able to extend them. But apparently, as Arcitys mentions actually here in the chat, that they signed new deals for the upcoming Modern Warfare 2 season. Like, they'd all talked to FaZe, and they'd all decided as a team, yeah, we want to stick together. And at this point, it was actually looking kind of clear. Like, because I'd made a video talking about, okay, you know, will it happen? Will it not happen? Will FaZe actually blow it up? And that's what Arcitys is kind of, I believe, referring to in the chat. He says, I saw a YouTube title, we are all re-signed, we're lovers forever, right? Effectively saying, look, we're not breaking apart, the rumours are unsubstantiated, and indeed they have all re-signed new contracts for the upcoming season. So if that's the case, you would well imagine that a team has kind of, well, talked to each other and decided, yes, they're going to stick together. And this, of course, is, you know, pretty much the end of July, such that, you know, it's only a couple of weeks before the World Championship, right? So at that point, it seemed like the team was going to stick together. Now, internally, from what we now know, that wasn't necessarily the case. So it's strange, really, that Arcitys believed and was saying, like, I don't blame Arcitys here, right? Because, like, he believed they'd re-signed new deals and they wanted to keep him on, right? That makes sense. He says, we're lovers together, we're all re-signed for next season. This, I believe, was that, I mean, what a cracking thumbnail. This was the video that he was referring to. And, I mean, look at this. You got Simp waving goodbye. Just absolutely fantastic stuff. But this is the video that I made on about the 20th of July. Like, I'm talking about the rumors that, well, if FaZe don't win champs, are they going to blow it up? Would Arcitys be the odd man out in that situation? Of course, I had Clayster on here. Turns out it was Slasher and ended up joining the team. But, you know, still, like, interesting stuff, really, that Arcitys saw this at the time, I believe, and thought, well, you know, there's no way this is going to happen. We just re-signed a new deal, and then within a couple of weeks after coming, you know, second again at the World Championship, they then decided to drop him regardless. This is Crimsix's thoughts on the situation. Firstly, on, like, his actual thoughts on the team. The fact that Slasher is, you know, seemingly way smarter, maybe from a Call of Duty and out of Call of Duty perspective than the other guys on the team. So kind of wondering whether, like, yeah, the chemistry within that roster might be a little bit interesting, just because, you know, of, like, the different personalities and the mesh of those styles within the team. But he does admit that FaZe are going to be pretty disgusting regardless. Also says that if FaZe offered him to join, it'd be like, hang on, lads, are you just trolling here? Which I thought was kind of, you know, interesting, given the fact that Crim is the greatest of all time in many people's books. But also saying that, like, look, why exactly did they re-sign these guys and then all of a sudden drop Arcitys anyway?
So what do you guys think about FaZe's current roster? I think they should have picked up Crim.
I think that Slasher contains more intelligence than all three of them combined. But they're going to be disgusting.
I think they're going to be good. I think Austin's
5 seconds here.
Well, honestly, though, now that I think about it, they are lucky that Biffle does not play in the CDL. I wonder if they pre-planned Arcitys drop.
Oh, probably.
Think about it, don't think about it.
No, I'm thinking about it, and you got to think that they already knew that was happening.
But then why did they sign contracts right before the event?
You know, just so it didn't look sketch. And so they, like, had him 100% bought in. They did it the smartest way they could.
It was a feel better sort of deal?
It was like, oh, no one's going to drop, bro. We're resigning right before champs. What do you mean? Then after champs, listen, bro. After some consideration, bro,
so
man.
We want Slasher.
Crim, why didn't FaZe pick you up over Slasher?
Too much talent. That's what I tell myself so I can sleep at night.
Well, you really never know. There's a road where they pick you up, and everyone
no,
needs
they
their words,
definitely
and you guys
they
live
definitely
team.
think I'm dog. Let's not kid ourselves. They definitely think I'm dog.
Bro, I think
I don't deserve to be on that team. You know what?
You don't think so?
It's not what you deserve.
No,
though.
They hit me.
You don't get what you deserve, though. That's just not how life works.
Bro, if they hit me up,
you should get what you deserve. You're saying no? What?
Nah.
Bro, you're
if they hit me up,
sitting in hill and collecting another ring. Shut your stupid ass up.
No. If they hit me up, I would literally. My first response would be with, like, I'd immediately think I'm being trolled.
Yeah, like they're with you, putting you in a YouTube
this
video.
is some sick Cellium.
This is some sick CDL Cellium content.
Yeah, dude. Like, here we go, another one of Cellium.
Two no shields, one's down.
So I think it's definitely an interesting feature of this whole discussion, right? The fact that these FaZe guys apparently re-signed new deals, and you know, we talked about, I did that video that I just mentioned, but then I reckon a couple of days later I said, well, you know, Arcitys has kind of said here that they're going to stick together and nothing's going to change, and you know, based on the fact that they re-signed new deals, and that seemed relatively clear going into the World Championship, even though to me there was still a thought that, like, you know what, look, if they don't win champs, if things go badly again, is it a chance they blow it up? Maybe yes, maybe no. Of course, they end up making taken the decision to make a very, controversial change, right? I think most pro players would say that this is a bad decision getting rid of Arcitys. Like, Scump and Formal have certainly implied the same thing. Internally, obviously, they feel like they can improve by getting rid of Arcitys, and that he wasn't the leader and the in-game kind of personality they needed to get them the results they wanted, right? And this is the thing, aBeZy said, like, Arcitys came out and talked about the lack of respect that he felt internally, the fact that they were kind of going behind his back to talk to his family about the issues that he was, having within the team. But I guess Arcitys thought that things were kind of getting resolved, or like, everything was kind of okay internally. Because based on what we see him putting out right here, when, we're all re-signed, it's effectively all good to go for the upcoming season, it seemed like he was, relatively satisfied with the things that have been resolved to some degree, and it was going to be okay going forward. aBeZy then came out and said that he didn't really like that Arcitys was painting them in a bad light, saying that, like, hated the fact that they already pretty hated FaZe, and now Arcitys is coming out and saying XYZ about the way they treated him, and how it's making FaZe look even worse and being even more of a villain than they already are. That's the thing, aBeZy, Simp, and Cell, these guys, like, they're not really tailor-made for the villain role. They don't necessarily want to be hated by the community, but it's kind of how things have gone when you dominate the scene for a season, and then, and then situations like this occur, and Arcitys is saying what he's saying, and then, the vitriol, of course, is going to be sparked to the community to some degree. Slash is going to lap it up, obviously, next season on this FaZe team. But does this add more fuel to the fire one way or another, right? As Crim is saying, it's kind of interesting, like, it doesn't really make too much sense for FaZe to have re-signed those deals, and, like, Arcitys, I can't imagine that he's wrong in the fact that they re-signed new contracts, but it's interesting if, as kind of Crimsix is implying there, they already knew they wanted to drop Arcitys. They signed him to a new deal anyway. Now, I guess they knew as an organization and as a team, like, Arcitys is going to get bought out somewhere or another, but Arcitys maybe didn't have every option on the table, right? Because, like, because he had a pretty big buyout from that contract that he had, maybe a recently re-signed contract, then it was only really big organizations that could get him, right? LAG, they've got a lot of capital. Maybe OpTic could have made it work if they actually were making a change. Maybe a team like New York, right? Like, but there's not that many organizations that actually could have paid for Arcitys' buyout. It just as it happens, like, he was able to go to LAG because they needed an AR given the way the situation was going down. But if that wasn't the case, Arcitys might have been in a really difficult spot as a result of this. So I think there is an argument to say that, like, yeah, these guys kind of did him dirty in this sense, right? They happily re-signed a contract with him and said, yeah, we're good to go for next season. But all the while, they kind of knew, and, like, there was already internal conflict there going on at the time. Like, they weren't convinced at all that Arcitys was going to stay. And as he kind of described here in this tweet, there was no trust, no respect between the team and myself. But yet, I guess he believed after they re-signed new deals, around about a month before when he tweeted this out, right, when all the drama was going down, like, they literally re-signed new deals or whatever, month and a half before all the drama was happening. And, I guess he felt like at that point, okay, yes, there have been some issues this season. It hasn't been a great season for us. But, like, I guess they decided that, okay, we're going to stick it out for one more season. Turns out wasn't the case at all. So interesting stuff. And what do you guys think about Crimsix's other comments, right, about how good the team will be? The team obviously is going to be rather good. It's Atlanta FaZe. They've got Simp, aBeZy, and Cell plus Slasher. It's not going to be a bad team. I honestly think the worst they're going to be is, like, second best. I can't really see them being any worse than that. Will they be the best again like they were in Cold War? I think it's arguable for, I think they'll win more events this year than they did last year. I think they might be a better team this year than they were last year, because last year was just a bad team for the players individually and also as a team in general, despite still much better results on average than any other team in the league. And how would they have done with Crimsix, right? If they were to have given Crimsix the call and say, yeah, Crim, come and join us, like, Crim would have thought, probably understandably, they're trolling, which, is kind of a weird one for Crim, right? Because you'd have thought Crim, being the guy he is, would have thought, yeah, okay, yeah, damn, I'm good enough for this team. But, he's like, I'm not even good enough for this team, which is kind of a, sad way for Crimsix to think about it. But, given the fact that Simp, aBeZy just keep shooting his body every time they beat him the last couple of years, it would, of course, been a massive surprise had they have reached out to Crim to be their main AR for the new season. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. If you want another video to watch, check out the every winning major moments for the Black Ops 2 season on the Breaking Point channel. Recently hit 20,000 subs over there as well, so absolutely love to see it. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.